Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Strife's Sanctum. My name is Citizen Strife, and I'm actually recording this on a Sunday instead of a Saturday as usual. Stayed up a little later on Friday and just enjoyed my night. But anyway, before I get to the video game review, I do want to respond to something I've already dealt with on the community polls, but take it as a more formal announcement. Ever since I got community polls for both of my channels, I've been using them as a way to kind of get gauging of people, like what they want to see. They're all going to be things I'm going to review, or in the case of the main gameplay channel that I'm going to play eventually. But I figure it's a good way for people to gauge what they're going to want to see first of those options, and it goes pretty well. It's pretty straightforward. You know, some people will comment, but by and large, most people just vote and then they go with it, and things pass them by. But a few weeks ago, I don't know why, but the anime polls for this channel, because I switch out video game reviews and anime polls each week. For whatever reason, there kept to be votes. And votes, and votes, and votes. And sometimes the votes would be even more than the subscribers for this channel, and I understand it. Maybe people are interested in whatever. But it became a thing. And I even posted about it yesterday morning, and I said, it's getting a little excessive. But then it kept happening. Because I could tell right away, nobody votes this much for any of my polls. I enjoy the fact that people were interested, but I'm also, kind of concerned about it, because why would you bother? More so than usual, because I only have about 25 subscribers for this secondary channel. It's fine for what it is, but I don't need that many votes. And worst part yet is you have, whether it's one person or multiple people or whatever, you'd have to vote stuff or whatever to do that super quickly. And then you'd have the issue of, well, what if somebody else wants to watch something else? What if somebody's vote stuffing and intentionally voting for multiple shows to cover their tracks? I don't know. But the fact that somebody's doing that, if they're doing that, again, I can't say for sure, so I'm not going to put anyone on the spot, but if they're doing it, they'll know when they hear this. I decided I'm not going to bother with it anymore, because it kind of detracts from the sporting nature of, hey, everybody gets a vote, everybody gets to see what they're doing. No, a person that really wants to can just do what they want to do and see what they want to see. Once or twice, that's fine, but at the same time, I'm like, that's not very fair to anybody else who's voting. And it's also kind of cheapens the experience when I'm looking at one set of polls and I get at most 1 or 2 votes a week or 2 weeks, because I usually hold them for 2 weeks. And then all of a sudden the other one has 20 or 25. That's a red flag that I don't really need to bother with. It's not really sporting. It's not really worth fun. And again, if you want to take this personally, you can. I'm not going to out anybody because I don't know who would be responsible anyway, because I don't know. But it is a trend that I saw over the last month, so I'm just making a blanket statement for the rest of this channel that no more polls, because people have been abusing that fun. That's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be fun. So, which of these things that I came up in my head do you want to see? That's it, right? These are things I was watching or playing recently, or stuff I've had in my head for years and I can talk about without even thinking. That's as much thought as I put into it. The fact that there's even polls that have that many votes is... If I had 100 subscribers or 200 subscribers, that would be one thing. I could buy that, but no, not many people use community polls anyway. It's just not worth the hassle. So I just made a blanket statement and said, no, I'm not going to do it, and it's just going to be my choice from now on. I think on my other channel, it's probably a little safer because it's just 4 or 5 votes or 10 votes here and there has been the general direction of things, and it hasn't stirred into it yet. If it does, then I'll do the same thing. But I'm making that as a general statement now, just so that the confusion is no longer there. Anyway, let's get to the thing I do want to talk about, and that's Rogue Galaxy. And that is a video game from about 15 years ago from a studio called Level 5. And Level 5 was created, and they've been doing pretty successful for themselves. They created Dark Cloud, they created this, they did Professor Layton. They're going to do, I believe they've done Ni no Kuni. They're also, I believe, involved with the upcoming Deca Police, the police mystery investigation game / JRPG. And let's face it, they're pretty good at what they do for being a, big but not so big company. Not one of the major names. But they do a pretty good job. And this is another one of those, this is pretty good sort of video games way back. I've only played it a couple of times, but I was recently tipped off to the PS4 version, because this was originally a PS2 release. Think of like .hack GU, where it was on the PS2 and then they remastered it for the PS4, because everybody skipped the PS3 because the PS3 was junk. And what I remember most about Rogue Galaxy was it kind of came out around a year after Final Fantasy XII. And I don't want to keep harping on the Final Fantasy XII bandwagon. I've done that so goddamn many times. But the way this game presented itself was, again, a different sort of vibe to it. But it also felt like what the Final Fantasy XII battle system could have been. A little simpler, a little more straightforward action-wise. A lot of this kind of goes straightforward action, but it's allowing you to stop. Like if you need to use items or if you need to use a menu, you can stop. Which Final Fantasy XII did. I think it moves faster. So in my head, that's what happened. I keep harping on the way Final Fantasy XII changes, and I know that's wrong of me, but again, that's when I first played this, that's exactly like, in my head, after a while, this is how I felt. Now, looking back on it, that's a really dumb thing to say, admittedly, but it does its own thing, and it tries to do its own thing, but by and large, it shares a lot of the kind of the meat on the bones as far as a gameplay system, the ability to kind of change things around. It is an action-based RPG, but it is on a bit of a slower, less dodge-heavy side. Much like the way Rebirth and 12 do there. Because you can kind of tell there are certain games like Ace where you're trying to avoid damage by dodging, and if you dodge or you block, then you avoid damage. Some games are just, you take the damage. You just take the damage. I think, to an extent, Xenoblade's kind of the same way. That's the best way I would describe it. This is very tank heavy, but you can dodge a little bit. That's kind of why I don't like action RPGs in a little way. If you don't have the skill set or the speed in mentality, or if you're like me and you're physically incapable of like pressing buttons or whatever with speed, processing wise, it really does kind of screw with you a little bit. That's why I've preferred turn-based. But anyway, what this game does do differently is a setting. And while most JRPGs, I think, are either very futuristic or like the best way I would describe this would be Star Ocean, where there's some futuristic stuff, but you'll find them in the bare bones medieval time setting way too often. Where they'll be stuck on a planet instead of being in the pseudo space opera Star Trekking and thing that they could be doing, island hopping sort of mentality. Rogue Galaxy at least gives you some of that. It kind of balances it out well enough that you get the medieval time stuff, but you also get, prehistory. You also get oh, here's a setting where everybody talks like they've been in the future, or you have people from different races. It feels very lived in, and it doesn't really strike you that, hey, these people all look different and sound different and feel different, and they don't share the same thing. They're all brought together from different things. And of course, pirates exist, spaceships exist, spaceships exist. That sort of thing is unique. And that's one of the things that carries it. Because the game isn't perfect, the story isn't perfect, the gameplay isn't amazing, but it still does some things interesting, and, it has a lot of side questy parts to it. But the character of Jaster Rowe, played by Will Friedle, he was safer in, Kingdom Hearts 2. That's how far back we're going. He lives in a desert town. He's an orphan child, but he's kind of a hunter kind of dude. And he goes around doing things. A lot of stuff's happening in his town, and these people show up. Simon and Steve. They're voiced by Greg Ellis and Yuri Lowenthal. They're looking for some guy named Desert Claw. And apparently this super well-to-do bounty hunter, and got all these skills, and they think Jaster is amazing, so they grab him and think, it's not, nothing's wrong. Jaster's like, I do kind of want to leave, so I'm going to leave and explore the galaxy, because, again, he's an orphan. He has no real ties to Salgan other than his foster father, so he leaves. And a lot of people just kind of mistake him for this Desert Claw guy. Even Kisala, she's voiced by Natalie Lander, who is Terra in Dissidia. That's what I mostly know her from. And she's not leading the pirate crew, but she's the daughter of this big, just slovenly dude known as Dorgan Goa. And she obviously takes a liking to him. I do kind of like that they don't force a romance, but it's still enough of it that you're like, I could see it, So this game doesn't force itself down a romantic trap if it doesn't need to. Which, again, that's another thing games can and can't do with certain levels of success. It all demands on chemistry, but it makes sense. Kisala has a interest in Jaster and is willing to parlay it, even though everybody else is like, you fucking idiots. I took one look at him, and he's a fucking young-ass dude. Desert Claw's this hardened bounty hunter veteran dude, this big, bulky dude. How did you make that fucking mistake? Well, you could have gotten a picture, or you could have gotten a description, a better description, but no, all they had to go on was, he's got a mark on his face. Well, okay. So you're basically saying anybody with a face tattoo could have been a legendary bounty hunter. I don't think Mike Tyson would have thought that. Anyway, though something tells me Mike Tyson as a bounty hunter would be awesome. But anyway, they'd start doing things in other places, one being Juraika, a planet where it's very prehistoric and native lands and focusing on, cultures from way back in indigenous areas, and they kind of deal with human sacrifices to stop this plague that's been going on. And unfortunately, this plague is this sacrifice in question is the sister of one of the other main characters, known as Lilica. And Lilica is voiced by Carrie Walgren, who I've talked about in this channel so many fucking times. Let's just say anime and video games, yeah, I know, she's great. But Lilica is like Ayla from Chrono Trigger. Pretty much. Badass, fights, takes no prisoners, is willing to listen to you here and there. So she's not as feral as Ayla is, because Ayla is more of a kind of a joke character. Lilica is just stern and, leader of the village of warriors and shit, and fights with a bow and arrow. Yes, and she somehow keeps up with these people that have laser guns and are robots and junk and bombs and things like that. Because Japan, you can do that sort of thing. If you're not carrying a sword, you don't have the best thing in the world. So arrows and bows and shit, perfectly fine. So, no, she doesn't get some super crazy space age weapon. She just keeps her bow and arrow, and it works. Who knew that space age people would still be brought down by rocks and arrows? Anyway, so she joins the party about an hour later, and things keep going by. They go to another city where they renew like transports and whatever. They run afoul of some, how would I put it? This like pop idol character known as Muyo. She just kind of sits there in the office and is kind of there to make money. She's not there. She's probably not there by choice, but she has her own weird fan club because she's like I don't know if she is an idol, but she treats herself like she is one, and the guards are fawning over her. She's got like an unofficial fan club, so she fucks around with them. So they're like, okay, I need you to do this and do this and do this so that you get registered from the guild, because otherwise we'll arrest you because you're pirates and shit. So they got to do that. They go to a bar. They meet another couple of characters, Digo, and Digo is this like gigantic, like, I don't know what breed of dog he would be, but like maybe like a Bernard / Doberman type. No, they're totally different. I don't, puggish looking, pit bull looking guy. I don't know. He's an anthropomorphic dog guy, and he's a bartender because he's a former soldier. Just go with it. He's voiced by David Sobolov. His story arc in this town of Vedan is like, he was a soldier, his friend was a soldier, and his on again, off again girlfriend. Actually, no, he's not the bartender. His girlfriend / love interest is. She owns the bar. He just gets drunk. I forgot. He often gets drunk because he's a former soldier in this mining town, but she's his like support person and is like, dude, just stop being a fucking just depressive, because he's dealing with like PTSD and shit like that. So he ends up joining because a lot of weird stuff happening, because unbeknownst to the pirate crew, while they're off looking for this place called Eden, there's machinations behind the scenes. Other people in the city, including his friend, are trying to find this thing called a tablet. And herein lies one of the problems that I have with this game. A lot of games can kind of be saved by main villains, and I don't think Rogue Galaxy ever gets to that point. I think what really sucks is they've got a good setting, they've got a good kind of 3 to 4 areas that you can go to, the Salgan and Rosa Desert planet, the Juraikin Buraquaqua, prehistoric jungle-esque planet, and then this Vedan, this sort of, you go to Vedan, but you also go to a different place that has this very high-tech, crazy-looking thing, but it's run by this place called Datron and whatever, and you find out that the main villain is just some entrepreneurial, like, business person called Valcog. He doesn't do anything. He builds stuff. So he's another one of those like mastermind villains. But even then, he doesn't even get like a lot of screen time, because with mastermind villains, you sit there and go, yeah, you're totally the bad guy, and I'm just hitting her. Oh, no. They give him like 2 or 3 scenes of importance, and then he just like randomly shows up later as kind of like, I need to be a final boss somehow. Because the real threat to the world is, later on. So they focus on Valcog a little bit because you have to do the, hey, I'm going back to the old places that we've been to, but we're going to look for other things. So they find these key pieces. And then shenanigans follow, and Jaster becomes super powerful because main character in a Japanese game. Of course he's super powered. They find out Kisawa actually has an interesting backstory. But then they also find out that the place they've been searching for is actually sealed off, because they don't want to release something very, very dangerous. Just this like ephemeral like power that can ruin people, called Mother. The idea is it's like draining the life energy out of planets and moving on. So it's a vampiric entity of sorts. It just chokes the life out of stuff and moves on. It's kind of the way they made up the Aliens of Independence Day, where they just suck up all the resources and go. Same idea. So whomever was in control of Eden decided to seal themselves away, unbeknownst to everybody else, and that's where the planet of amazing treasures and all this crazy crap came to be. I mean, it's a beautiful planet, don't get me wrong, and you show up like near the end of the game, but the main issue with it is that they don't explore that enough. Because by the time you get to Eden, you're already pretty much ready to finish the game. They do enough to flesh out what the characters and their motivations are, because you got like 5 or 10 different main characters that join in and do stuff, and some of them are interesting, some of them have different alliances and whatever. But by and large, like the focus on the characters as characters is tenuous at best. They're more telling you a story, and they're on a journey. So if you like a game that's more about the journey and more about saving a world or saving a galaxy, then sure, this is probably going to be your plot line. If you want something that digs into the machinations of characters, like, it'll do it here and there, and I think a couple of the characters do get a little bit more than others, but it is very side story. I don't think a lot of the characters, unless you're Jaster or Kisala, I don't think you get, like, I'm really... the interpersonal relationships in between characters doesn't really show up a lot. It's more, oh, I'm sorry about whatever's happening to you, and let's move on and start killing things. So, it's not the best story, but it's not, like... Again, it's a setting that both works against it and for it. Because it's a setting that doesn't get used much. You can have stuff that's in space, but you don't have a lot of stuff that stays in space. At least this is willing to give you different 3 to 4 different places to jump around, and it feels like, oh, I am traveling the galaxy and doing different things. I'm not staying on one planet, and I'm not being a medieval times or a modernized setting or even futuristic. I'm at least kind of dabbling in everything. So that's kind of neat in its own way. Battles are pretty straightforward. I talked about them a little bit, but really the cool thing about this is when you do like special attacks, they tend to be area clears, and they be status effects, or they be very damaging effects, and you can kind of use that to your advantage if you're attacked a lot. The character AI will kind of warn you when it wants to use a skill or a healing item, and you can kind of slow down the game, like, to use the menu. So if you're getting beat up, you can stop the menu doing whatever you're doing, chug a potion, and move on. So if you have enough, you can chug your way through the game, and the game won't really penalize you for it. You still got your weapons and armor and all your other junk. You have some specific skills every level or so that you'll get, kind of like the relics from Ys or whatever that change the way the game moves, but it's not going to be the hardest action combat you've ever seen. The most interesting feature of this system is called Revelation Flow. And Revelation Flow is a mix of the license board from Final Fantasy XII, the sphere grid from Final Fantasy X, and I don't know if anybody played Monokamiya, one of the Atelier games, but Atelier had a few games before they started doing Atelier forever from PS3 onward. They had a set of games called Monokamiya, and I don't know about the second one, but I remember distinctly the first one back in like 2006, 2007, 2008. When that came out, their system was predicated on creating magic items, because Atelier is all about crafting. And once you craft an item, you can kind of plug those into each character and start getting new abilities and new stats. The same thing kind of applies in Rogue Galaxy. I forget who came up with the idea first, but by and large, the idea is once you create an item or find it out in the world via treasure chest or side quest or something, of which there are like 5 different side quests you can do, you'll get new items. The game will kind of tab up whether you have an item or something that specifies to a certain skill. So you get a better level of a stat. You get a new skill involved. You get a new AoE attack. You get some new stats involved. Each character has their own set of things that they need and attacks that they can use. Because one guy focuses on sword stuff. Kisala focuses on piratey kind of stuff, but also sort of healing stuff. Zegrim is a pirate, so of course, pirate stuff. Simon shoots off guns and bombs and junk. Steve is a robot, so he does other stuff. Yeah, everybody has their own kind of things as skills that they do. So that you get the skill trees. As battles go along, the characters will go, "Hey, Jaster, let's do a thing," and then they'll do the thing. So you can kind of use them as characters, but you're also kind of stuck as Jaster, but they're still involved in keeping themselves alive. So you're still maintaining your life and theirs as the main character, but they can kind of suffice whenever they need to throw in a special move here and there. The AI is not completely dumb. But again, they will let you decide when to do special attacks. That's kind of the mix. They aren't just going to throw off their special attack without your having input. So it's a cool idea at play. Music is fine, though I wouldn't really call it the most memorable thing in the world. I can't a couple of songs I remember in the desert town, but I wouldn't suffice it to say that this game is the most amazing thing I've ever heard of, and I'm gonna remember it for the rest of my life. Now, it's serviceable, it's interesting, it's got a little bit of intrigue here and there, and it bounces around depending on the planet that you're going to. But again, it's kind of like the villains, they exist. It's inoffensive. That's the best way I'd put it. But yeah, negatives wise, I would say the fact that you're going to these places, but you're not really exploring them, really kind of sucks, because when you go here the first time, you learn about the city and the world that you're inhabiting, but then the next time you're just going to another part of the dungeon or a bigger part of the world, and you're not exploring the world so much. I mean, you're doing a little bit of that, but it's still kind of the same plot thread. So it's the same thing with Lilica's sister. You're kind of doing your own thing, looking for the mid-game MacGuffin, but you're also kind of am I finishing off this story arc or am I not finishing it off? It's just kind of... It just reminds me of any of those games where it's go and beat the dungeons again, yay! Because they're different dungeons, but they're just on the same planet. So it's not you go to 3 planets and then here's 5 more that you can go to at the end of the game. No, you're going back to the same places you were before. It's kind of lazy. It's not the best. But again, I do think the game is marred a little bit by Valcog being very ineffectual. And as I said, the mother concept is very bare bones. Last 2 to 3 hours of the game, bare bones, or last dungeon kind of vibes. Sure, it's a force of nature villain, but much like Mastermind villains, force of nature can only get you so far. I think if it's a situation like a Lavos, where you've built this thing up since the beginning of a game, okay, I can see it. I understand why I need to stop this thing. It's been a ever-present threat cloying at me for the rest of my life, but you're introducing it as your final boss or part of the final boss for the end of the game. It's not really that great. And then Valcog himself is essentially a minor villain masquerading as a major villain. It doesn't really add up to much. He does a few things, but he never really himself seems like enough of a threat to bother space pirates, because he's just guy with lots of money. Guy who creates android who kills you. He himself doesn't... I've always said the best villains are the ones that can do all the masterminding and laughing and shit, but when shit comes south, they're the ones actually doing the evil deeds. Or they're the ones that are in the boss fights actually kicking the shit out of you. Say what I will about Seymour from Final Fantasy X, but at least he tried to stop you every fucking 5 seconds. So at least I give him some credit. It's that thing. It's in Xenosaga Margulis. He's not the main villain, but he's always an ever-present threat. And then early on in the game, he's a dude with 2 katana, a big giant fucking katana that can set itself on fire. And it's I see a dude with a fire sword and a lightning sword, I am scared. So he's always going to be a threat. So his sitting around waiting for shit to happen can be backed up by, oh, he's going to kick the shit out of me, isn't he? There's always that threat. Velkok never, ever gets to that point. And that's, again, a bit of an annoyance because there are bosses. There are lots of bosses. And sometimes they are very threatening. But when you're trying to create a narrative where, like, the world and the dangers of the universe are at stake. Sorry, I'm stretching. Had to happen while I was trying to record. When that's happening, it doesn't add up to much. So bear that in mind. As far as good things about it, I'd say that leveling system is unique because you get your main stats by and large, but you also get new skills. You have to collect items. You have to keep items going. You can craft items. You can do a factory. There's so many freaking side quests that you can do. You can do something called an Insectron tournament. You can hunt random enemies that are harder than others, bounties and hunters and junk. You can go create a factory. You're given a factory that you can craft new items from, but you have to reconfigure it and create it, like almost like a gummy ship kind of thing. Level 5 gave you a lot of stuff to do and explore. So you could do the main quest, but you're also allowed to do other things and benefit from them. So you're given side quests to kill time and to do other things, which is always good because it's a change of pace. But is Rogue Galaxy worth your time? Not the worst experience I've ever had, but not the best RPG. But it has its moments. None of the characters are going to be like revolutionary. None of the settings, the fighting schemes are going to be revolutionary, but I don't think that was kind of the point. Maybe it was trying to be like their own answer to Star Ocean or something like that, but even then I'm kind of like, no, this is its own standalone thing. It's trying to do something different, and they've never really gone back to it. Level 5 has done other things, like Ni no Kuni and Deca Police and whatever. This is its own, we're standing alone. It sold well enough, and I think it has a decent enough following. And given the fact that it's back on a PS4 system, means there's no reason that you can't play it. Or if you played it in the PS2 era, I would think you would have had an enjoyable time. Because I would always kind of remember it in the fringes of my mind as, yeah, I enjoyed it. It's never going to be my go-to RPG of choice, but I know that if I'm going to play it again or re-experience it, I know I'll probably enjoy it. So would I recommend playing Rogue Galaxy? Absolutely. It's a pleasant enough experience, though it's just not gonna wow you in any way, shape, or form. But it did enough to stand out at the time, and I think it's remembered fondly enough as yet another RPG that people kind of forgot about, if that makes any sense. So I think if you do still have a PS4, which I still would imagine all of us do, then yeah, this is definitely good. It's a good 30 to 40 hours, and you'll get a lot out of it. But that'll do it for today, and what are we talking about next time? So, we've done Rogue Galaxy. Oh dear, it's Tenchi Muyo and Tenchi Universe. Oh my god, this was the first anime I ever watched. I remember it very well. Final Fantasy V. Makes sense, because I'll actually be finishing up on my main channel by the time I get to it. There'll be Snow White and the Red Hair, Soul Hackers 2, 86, and Sonic 2. So I'm set for a while, and as I said before, I'm just gonna go back to the way I did things, and I'm gonna make my own choices about what I'm going to talk about each week, and it is what it is, But for now, I'm just gonna call it a day. I gotta get ready for work, so I'll see you guys next time. Citizen Strife, signing off.